Hey guys, gals, gays, and theys. This is Van Sebastian and S.A. Baz Collins here. We are putting this out into the world because while we've been in operation since April 15th of 2015, a lot of people who are discovering us on YouTube don't necessarily know what we're all about. We have this whole reaction thing going on with myself and Albert Nothlet. And then we have all these interview things that are going on. And for a while, we tried to do a big combined show, and we realized that might have been too long. So we've been playing with our format, and we're going to have a change up coming in 2025. But we thought we would take a moment to talk about why we're doing what we're doing, what the thrust and the mission of our podcast is about, and just give you a sort of a peek behind the curtain as to why we feel it's important and why we think we're doing a service to the queer community at large. So with that, we have been producing the show since April 15th of 2015, which I think is funny. And we started on a tax day.
Tax day.
Um, and we only came to YouTube in 2019. And people are probably going, why? Why didn't you do it back in the day? Yeah, well,
Because we were
we're
a small
older. I don't
operation
know.
on a shoestring budget and we didn't have the production availability at the time.
And we're old.
Hey,
Well,
hey,
I'll admit to the older. I can't get around it with this beard.
what's that, Sonny?
And,
Did
we're,
blue tube? What's
yeah,
blue
with the
tube?
blue tube. Don't you need eyeglass treatments for that? Anyways, we highlight queer content creators, activists, queer history, in any form that we think could be beneficial to the community. And why we feel it's important is, well, Vance, why don't you tell them why we feel it's important?
I mean, there are two major reasons. One, discoverability. What if we just help you find your new favorite author who's writing stories about you that reach the way you grew up and saw the world in a way that mainstream media just doesn't and won't? But
Mm,
also, we wanted to create a historic archive of all of these queer creators, in case we get erased.
absolutely. The whole thing is, I know people are trying to minimalize politics in their lives because it is so divisive. But as a queer person moving about in this world, our existence is political. So it's kind of hard for our community to stand back and feel some sort of privilege that we can. And if it's one thing our ancestors have proved to us, is there are two qualities about our community that are our overriding characteristic. And that is when we rise, we succeed. When we actually push the needle moves. And it may feel like one step forward, two steps back at times, but we still plod forward. And secondly, our resilience as a community. If you go back to the Harlem Renaissance, there was a lot of queer representation in the 20s. The moderns of the 1920s had a lot of queer momentum in it. That's where you had Gertrude Stein, and you had all of these incredible queer voices that were really pushing the envelope at a time when people didn't even have a word for what we were, really.
Right.
So keeping and preserving not only those voices from our historical past, but also what's going on now. We have a number of trans and non-binary creators that have been on our show.
Hmm.
And we want to preserve those voices. We want to create a resource and a repository for when you go to consume queer content, you can come to us and say, what do you got? And we have offerings for you. Vance does a great job of putting in tags on our website. So if you go to WROTEPODCAST.com, you can go all the way back to the beginning. And in the beginning, we started out as a male romance podcast, The Three Musketeers.
And that just wasn't big enough.
No, it wasn't. And we realized that pretty quickly. So Vance went off and found a marketer a publicist, a marketer to help us figure out how we could turn this into something bigger. And that's when Wrote Podcast was born. And Wrote stands for written, WROTE, on the edge. So our whole thrust is that we know that queer voices are often on the cutting edge of what's happening. So we want to express that. We want to get people connected with that. And that's the whole idea behind Wrote. And you're a part of that in being an audience member. It's, we feel it's not a passive thing, it's an interactive thing. So we love it when you guys out there have a discussion about some of the things that we've done or reviewed or reacted to, our reviews on movies that we like or things that we discuss. So it's always an important factor, is our audience in interacting with this stuff. So that's why we have reactions and we have interviews. We wanted to explain that a bit because it could seem like it's very disjointed, but the thrust of it is that it's always queer content for the queer community and our allies. So
Yeah.
that's what we're on about. And there are some ways for us to ask you to help us in achieving that goal. So here's where you come in. Watch our interviews. Watch and we are going to be adjusting and fine tuning because YouTube is teaching us quite a bit with the responses. So our interviews tend to get less views. One, because I don't think people have really understood what they're on about. And now that we've explained it, hopefully you'll engage more with it. But secondly, I'm going to take down the length of the interviews. We're going to do like 15-minute interviews on YouTube with the full version of it being up on Patreon. That way, if you decide to go watch the full version because you're really intrigued by a specific content creator or queer activist or what have you, you can go to our Patreon. And now that Patreon allows us to sell individual episodes, you can go and see those. And our interviews are going to be $2 for the interview. So you can go in and you can see the full interview and get the full deep dive experience with that content creator to really learn about what they're going on about and what they're passionate about. Our reactions is another way, because Albert and I are on this wonderful journey. He is learning so much about queer media that he never had exposure to. And it's just been a lot of fun. It's just been a lot of fun for me to watch him react to some of these things. And I'll give you a case in point. We did a triptych during Valentine's of Tchaikovsky, and I showed him 3 separate pieces that all had Tchaikovsky as the common thread. And the payoff was the final one where we did Billy Elliot. And finally, the last moments of when Billy Elliot has the all male version of Swan Lake appear at the end just blew Albert's mind. He finally saw why I had done these things in this particular order. So there are some really wonderful moments captured by Albert in experiencing these things for the first time. And my bringing them to him has just been a joy for myself. So what are the other ways you can help?
Well, like you mentioned, you could just support us on Patreon. Help us keep the lights on. Help us get new equipment so we can do bigger and better. You can watch things. I mean, voting with your dollars is kind of like voting with your time. When you watch stuff or listen to our stuff or listen to our podcasts, it tells the distributors that, hey, we're important enough to be put in front of other eyes. That's huge.
Right.
That is huge. Find us on Blue Sky. We just joined The Good Place. And if you've been on Blue Sky, you know what I'm talking about. Um, I actually really enjoy it.
Someplace that's nice.
Right. But I really enjoy it. And it's one of the first social media sites, at least so far, where I feel like chatting with people.
Yeah, and the other thing is that is a wonderful thing that I love is their packaging where you can put in like all of the people. We could put in all of our guests that have been on our show in one major list, and people
Yep.
can go there. It's like a pack, welcome pack or something like that.
Starter pack, yeah.
Starter pack, that's it. And where we can put in all of those people and you can instantly follow them all. And it just gets you clued into all of these wonderful content creators. How great is
Hmm.
that? I mean,
It's
if
fantastic.
that's a big bonus for us to be able to connect what we've done to where people want to meet these creators and find new sources of queer content. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a beautiful thing. And I'm really happy about it. And then seeing how Blue Sky's CEO and COO have come out and said that they are billionaire proof because of its decentralization is just chef's
I love
kiss.
it.
That is the best part where we really have control over what we're doing. So
Yes.
another reason for everyone to move to Blue Sky. Give a finger to the X-Men. Anyways, what's ahead for 2025? So, unbeknownst to most of you, unless you've been following us since 2015, Vance used to work for a historical society there in Wisconsin where he is. And that kind of got my mental juices flowing. And I thought, for this next year, we should probably give people a little bit of a peek behind queer history in our respective locales. And I think it's going to be wonderful because Albert has also agreed to do it. So he's going to give us some insight into queer history from a Mexican point of view, which I think is going to be really fascinating. I mean, even I,
Mm-hmm.
as part Mexican, there are things I don't know about the country internally to Mexico itself. So it's going to be wonderful to see him explain those things. And we're going to do it with video representation stuff. So not just going to be us babbling into a microphone. We're actually going to give you some examples and film some things. So, Vance, how do you feel about that?
I'm ready. Bring it.
Yeah.
That's the shorthand way of saying I'm actually excited about it. I mean, Wisconsin was one of the first state to codify and put on the books protections for LGBTQ folks. So proud of that history.
Hmm.
And there's a lot that went behind it. I mean, the amazing amount of community that came together to make that happen. Because what the people don't know and are probably shocked by is the queer community reached out to the black community and said, "Hey, how did you do your civil rights things? Teach us." And that was reciprocated, and the black community welcomed us. And then we went to the churches and say, "Hey, they're going to legislate your bedroom." And some of the churches joined the movement too. So that's a very shorthand way of saying that history is important because it
Hmm.
showed how working together got the thing done. And I'm pretty
Hmm.
proud of Wisconsin's history for pulling that off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to actually touch on California queer history, not just here in San Diego, where I am currently, where I was born and reared, but I'm actually going to cover the Bay Area as well, because I lived there for many years. So I'm going to actually kind of do North and South California queer history. And there is a difference. That's the thing most people don't realize about California. Yes, it is a big state, but in reality, it's two states. And you'll find that out in my journey of teaching everybody and exploring California's queer history. So
Nice.
there's that.
And aside from that, look forward to meeting new content creators, or we'll be bringing back some old friends who've got new stuff to share with you. I suspect some of our more activist friends are going to be bringing up some works that are maybe charged a little politically, and I can't wait to bring those to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Baz and Albert are going to continue to explore queer cinema and break it down so you get to see it through the eyes of someone who's never seen it as well as somebody who's seen it more than once.
Right, right.
That's you,
And this
Baz.
is a shout out to our queer content creators or people who are thinking about being queer content creators. Our show is an open flat platform in that if you are doing something that is for the queer community, then come talk to us about it. You can do
Hmm.
that by going to wrotepodcast.com/booking and picking a date. Now, we will tell you that we have publicists that have now discovered us. So we're getting booked about 6 months out. So if you know you have a release coming up or you have an event coming up, you can sign up, pick your date. And if we get to that date and it still isn't happening or it has already happened, we can work with you to market it one way or the other to still bring it to the queer content audience. So, just come sign up for a date and we will be happy to talk to you about it. It is open to
Hmm.
anyone, it is free. It's just our way of taking in another voice and adding it to the Rote Podcast family. And we really do treat you like family. So, we make it very easy. We've been doing this for a number of years. We're very good at what we do in welcoming new people who have never done. Some of them have. We've been their first podcast they've ever
Yeah.
done.
Yep.
So, we're great at hand holding. We love letting people ramble and move about in the garden of queerdom. And we always are good about bringing you back to the topics at hand. So you don't have to sweat that you've got to be on your metal. And we pre-record them
Mm-mm.
so they're not live. So you do have some comfortability. We even give you a safe word. So if you need a moment to collect yourself or use the restroom or drink, we have ways that we can do that aren't part of the show, but it will give you some ease in knowing you're not having to be on point, as they say.
Right.
So
I mean,
there's that.
the short version is we got the interview part covered. You just bring the passion for what you're working on.
Absolutely, absolutely, that part right there. All
Anything
right.
else?
No, I think that's it. So we just wanted to have a moment and just let you know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And yeah, definitely check us out. Help us with the algorithm. Like, comment, subscribe. Especially the subscribe. We're getting close to our first 1,000. And that will be a big, big change for Vance and I because we've been paying for this out of pocket. And there are costs involved with maintaining this, the website presence, the software we use, the equipment we use to do this, what we're going to be
Distribution.
using going forward. So there's all of this involved. And yeah, so just any bit you can do to help us, either by going to buymeacoffee.com/WROTEPODCAST and throwing a bit of change our way is a big help. Or you can go to patreon.com/WROTEPODCAST and actually do a monthly subscription or buy individual episodes of the reactions, the TV reactions, film reactions, or now our interviews, which will be coming in 2025. So those are ways that you can definitely do it. You can also buy our membership on our YouTube channel, where we have watch along for reactions. So it's where you have your own copy of the movie, and you'll just sync it up in the beginning with where I'm showing the movie, and then we fade that out, and then it's just our reaction to what it is you're watching as you're watching your copy of the movie as well. So that's another way that you can help us out.
Awesome.
Also,
And
check out our merch.
yeah,
Yep, we have a link to that, and I have the merchandise in our YouTube channel down there below. I'm going to be adding some new stuff. I've already got some new ideas for the next year. So
that's what you should do. Buy all of your MAGA family our t-shirts for Christmas.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. And you can buy the logo. They won't know that they're helping us out.
Right? Or if they do and they come and yell at us, guess what? Their interaction still generates interest for
Yeah,
us.
exactly. Win-win. So definitely check that out. That will be a big help as well.
All right.
Maestro?
And we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe to get the alerts for new episodes. The show was and is and will be produced by Rogue Ravens Media. So for our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. And we look forward to seeing you come see us share your next queer media fix.
Bye-bye now.
Oh, what's that?
Closing time. Bum's Rush and Melody, dear.